Welcome to Unity of Ukaipa. I'm Reverend Deanna, and my talk today is A Tale of Two Wolves. You've all heard this story. There's a young man, he lives in a little village, and he's feeling this conflict in his heart. Like one minute he feels rage, but the next minute he feels love. So he goes to his grandfather to ask him for help. And the grandfather explains to him that within every person, in the heart of every person, there lives two wolves, a wolf of love and a wolf of chaos, and that these two wolves are fighting each other. The young man says, well, how do I know which one will win? The grandfather says, the one you feed. Okay, so you've heard the story. But metaphorically, we are doing that. Metaphorically, we have those two wolves also living within our heart. And we know which wolf we're feeding because we'll either feel peace and joy or we'll feel resentfulness, we'll feel bitterness. Now when we're feeding our wolf of love, we're making choices that honor our divine nature. We're walking by faith and not by sight. And we really do have the feeling of the universe has our backs. And, all things are possible to him who believes. We believe that. We know that good happens through us, for us, and out into our life. Now, if we are feeding our wolf of fear, we're going to make choices that fail to honor our divine nature. We will have a distinct feeling of separation. We'll have that feeling of lack, of limitation. We'll feel like life is happening to us and bad things happen to us. We might feel like we are all alone. So we are either always responding to life, we're interacting with life, we're participating with life, we believe that all changes happen through us and then into our life. That's feeding our wolf of love. Or we're reacting at life, we're pushing against life, we're resisting. We're thinking that what's out there has to change so we can be happy. And that feeds the wolf of chaos or fear. Now what happens is we're either in a space of acceptance or a space of resistance. We're either in a space of appreciation or a space of complaining. We're either in faith or we are in doubt. Now, if we are in acceptance, appreciation, and faith, we're feeding the wolf of love. But if we experience resistance, complaining, and doubt, we're feeding our wolf of chaos. So I'm going to talk about the care and feeding of our inner wolves, right? And the care and feeding of our inner wolves actually starts in our imagination. Our imagination is a powerful component of our spiritual path. In fact, imagination is important in all paths of success, right? Personal growth places an emphasis on imagination. Now, Charles Fillmore said that through the imagination, the formless takes form. Ernest Holmes says that we use our imagination to bring forth our ideas and our desires. Imagination is part of the creative process. If you can imagine it, the brain thinks it's true. That's why it's a big deal. See, when we imagine something, we imagine a new outcome, any outcome, the brain comes along for the ride. It doesn't matter if we're imagining a best case scenario or if we're imagining a worst case scenario. The brain is like, yeah, okay, this is what's happening. And then that's why our body will experience imagined stress that hasn't even happened yet, the same as it experiences the real physical stress. This is why we can wake up in the middle of the night from a nightmare of being chased by a dinosaur. We'll have an adrenaline rush. Our heart will be pounding. We're going to feel really scared, like it really happened, even though it didn't. It was a dream. See, whatever we believe is true, really believe it and feel it, well, the brain believes it along with us, and it, being such a great assistant, it will find the evidence to support that that's true, even if it's not. It'll find evidence to support it. So it'll focus on things in our environment to support that belief. What we believe makes a difference. If we find ourselves in resistance and resisting life, our brain is just going to find more things in our environment for us to resist. So we can keep pushing against life. So we keep blaming on things outside of ourselves. This is why if we get into the state of complaining, we just keep on complaining. We find more to complain about because the brain just keeps finding us more to complain about. If we experience doubt, we will be shown evidence in our environment from our wonderful assistant of a brain of why nothing ever works out for us. The way it's good to doubt. We should just doubt everything because nothing works. Right? That's what our brain's going to do. So, everything starts in our imagination. We're feeding our wolf of love, we're feeding our wolf of chaos. And it starts in our imagination. So, the first thing I invite you to look at is, are you in a space of resistance or are you in a space of acceptance? Right? When we resist life, we're pushing against it, but we can't change anything and we blame what's happening out there. But if we can accept what is going on, it doesn't mean we have to tolerate bad behavior. But we do need to look at the conditions of the world to be able to navigate them. Right? Just like a hiker, he will look, or she will look at the conditions where they're about to hike because they need to navigate it. Right? So you might look at something in your, like in the morning, maybe you get on the freeway and there's a lot of traffic. Now you can feed your wolf of chaos by getting upset about the traffic and lamenting the traffic and blaming the traffic for why you're late. Or you can just observe there's traffic. You can just accept there's traffic. Maybe you decide to leave a few minutes early because you know there's going to be traffic. Maybe you pick an audible book to listen to so you're entertained while you're in that traffic. But see, resistance, if we are in resistance about that traffic, we can't do anything about the traffic, right? So being in resistance is like pushing a door shut against a mob of zombies. Being in resistance, we just keep focusing on what's wrong. And if you've ever seen any zombie movie, you know that you can't just hold the door shut against zombies, right? It doesn't work. Our brain won't let that work. It's going to keep pointing out those conditions to us. This is why the war on drugs did not work out so well. We're putting a heavy focus on drugs. Now, I'm not saying we shouldn't deal with drugs, but we should be solution-oriented about it. Why do people get hooked on drugs in the first place? Because there's something here that's missing in them. They're not feeling it. They're feeling lost. They're feeling a disconnection. That's what we would want to address. Not just going to war on drugs. Heal people so they don't want to do drugs. Then we don't have to worry about the drugs. Okay? So, resistance will look like us thinking life is all unfair. This shouldn't have happened. I hate what's happening in the world right now. It needs to change. It needs to go back to the way it was so I can be happy. I'll be happy when all that stuff gets fixed. But change doesn't happen in resistance. But seeing the world as it is, right here and now, and then focusing on what we want to do to replace that. So, we're observing the conditions, and then maybe we're deciding, this needs to change. This needs to change. We use our imagination to come up with a replacement for that. Okay, like in the war of drugs, what would we do instead? We find something that serves those struggling with addiction. Okay, not drugs. We don't focus on the drugs. What do we want to replace it with? Healing, love, acceptance. We have to use our imagination to come up with solutions. So we discern the world. We see what it is, not so that we are continually tolerating bad things, but we're accepting what is so we know where to start, so we know what we're working with. That's all. You're going to bake a cake. You might walk into your room, your kitchen, and you observe. What do you have? Okay, nothing. So now you know where to start by going to the store and buying all the ingredients. So we can accept what is, then this allows us to navigate by faith. We're not walking by sight, we're walking by faith. And with faith, we are seeing what we'd rather have, right? What we would rather have. How can I express more love in this situation? How can I express more compassion, more mercy? How could I bring a bigger light to this game? Acceptance allows us to call forth solutions, allows us to call forth more good. If we get caught up in the conditions, we go right into resistance. And then being in resistance makes us vulnerable to this next thing that feeds our wolf of chaos, and that is complaining. If we're in resistance, we're complaining. But if we can accept, then we can practice appreciation. But when you complain, remember, because your brain wants to prove you right, it's going to point out more things in your life to complain about. And then this gets you in a cycle of resisting what is. So appreciation is the antidote to that. It's a feel-good energy. And if it's not a feel-good energy, appreciation can at least move us into a feeling better energy, right? So when we appreciate anything, right, even the little things, our brain starts to go to work so that we find more to appreciate. So we have more in our life to appreciate. If we are struggling, we may be at the tipping point where we're about to feed that wolf of chaos and fear. Now, expressing appreciation, can help tip us back to walking in faith. I know right now, life might be hard. It might be. But there are still a lot of happy little moments to appreciate. This is why I believe that the Apostle Paul said, in all things give thanks. Not for all things give thanks, but in all things, no matter the conditions of life, find something to be grateful for. It is really easy to be grateful when life is going really well. But if we're experiencing a struggle, it's not easy. And if we are struggling, our brain can create a cascade of more things to feel like we're struggling with. But if we express appreciation, in all things give thanks, find something to appreciate, our brain then puts us in the position of having a cascade of noticing the good. All right, so now appreciation and our imagination, they can amplify our experience of good. Because there's also something called a future appreciation. A future appreciation affects our brain. And it believes that what we're giving appreciation for, it's already happened. If we are giving thanks as if something is already so, the brain just thinks it's already happened. So if you have a great idea, but then you start stressing about how hard it is going to be to make it so, your brain jumps on in there. It's like, yeah, you're right. I'm going to show you all these reasons why. Right? But if you have a future appreciation for that, as if it is already done, the brain just thinks it's a done deal. That's it. Just thinks it's a done deal. That's why another important part of the creative process is using your imagination to imagine it as if it is already true. There is a verse in the Bible that says, ask for what you want, be enveloped by your desire, and being enveloped by our desire means feeling it as if it's already true. We're feeling something, already feeling something. Now, if we can imagine it and use appreciation to move forward, this helps us move into a deeper faith. Where if instead we're complaining, we're just going to move into doubt then, right? So faith and doubt, this is another way we are feeding our wolf of either love or chaos. We're experiencing faith, we experience doubt. Now within the unity principles, this is a big deal, and I know I talk about them a lot, but it is a great reminder, especially if you're struggling with something, to remember, okay, God is all things, everything that's ever been, everything that's yet to be, and that means me. And if God's all things, and there's not one thing that's not from God, that also means my great idea, the thing I want to create in my life. as well as what I'm worrying about. God is all things. Now, there may be a condition in our life that was made by a person, and they will be feeding their own wolf of fear if they're creating those kind of conditions. But whatever the condition, there's still a solution in it. A solution. A solution comes from God, right? That inspiration. This is why I love the affirmation. Faith paves the way and blesses my day. So faith is a practice. First, we have to remind ourselves God is all thing, everything that's ever been and everything that's yet to be, and that means me. Okay, if God is all things, that means me. That means within the conditions I'm worrying about, there's a solution, and when I see God in all things, I call that solution forth. My inspirations that I receive, the signs and wonders that happen in my life, the synchronicities, it's all God in all of its different expressions, source energy in all of its different expressions. So faith is a practice, and we just keep reminding ourselves of that. Now, if we're facing something difficult, then we can do what's called casting our burdens, where we just say, I may not know how to handle this situation. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to handle the situation and my feelings, everything that's going on in the world. But I do know that I want to move forward. I do know I want to have more peace within this storm. And so I remind myself, right, God is all things, and that means me, and there's that within me that knows what to do and how to do it, and it compels me to act on what it knows so I can call forth solutions. That can't control me out there. That out there, whatever's going on, it cannot control this. It cannot control my heart. No way. So that's what empowers us. That is what frees us. When we decide we don't have to have all the answers. That's walking in faith. We're willing to let something come to us and surprise us, right? None of us know how this entire country should be run. No, none of us know what they should be doing in other countries, right? But when we move into surrender and we can just admit, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do with this situation. I don't know how all this is going to work out. I only know there's that within that knows what to do and how to do it, and it compels me to act on what it knows. And when we act within our own life, right, by surrendering, having faith, and then taking that next action, there's a ripple effect. There's a ripple effect that goes out into our world. Okay, so we can feed the wolf of doubt and chaos with our complaining and our resisting. Keep talking about how things are falling apart. Okay, we can do that. Just keep feeding that wolf of chaos and fear. Or we can feed the wolf of love. We can accept that we're here where we are right here and now, so we know where to start. We don't have to accept we don't have to tolerate bad behavior, but we have to accept where we are right here, right now, so we can be guided what to do next. Then we use that brilliant imagination of yours to know what it is we want to build in our life. What do we want to replace the crazy conditions that scare us or that throw us off our game? What do we want instead? What do we want instead? Then we use appreciation to feel that as if it's already true, because that opens us up for inspiration. So we can bring the big light to the game. Our mind, our beautiful, amazing mind, is a tool that needs direction. Our beautiful, amazing mind. It can feed the wolf of chaos or the wolf of fear. The wolf of chaos and fear, or the wolf of love and compassion, joy, peace. Now, we're always feeding one of these two wolves. Always. Always feeding. But when you feed the wolf of chaos, you get more chaos. So feed the wolf of love to get more love. Because that's how we are creating heaven on earth. That is how we create heaven on earth. So until next time, remember, you are a soul designed to do this. You are designed to bring the big light to the game. You are the activity of spirit in this world, and everything you do. You are blessed, and so it is. We'll see you next time.